Announcing the arrival of Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Wahid Razali, Vice Chancellor University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, please kindly be upstanding for the national anthem and Bangsa Johor anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sehati sejiwa. Salam muafakat Johor. A very good morning. A warm welcome we bid to all. My name is Anim Zalina Azizan and I am very honored to be your master of ceremony this morning. First of all, allow me to extend the warmest welcome to Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Wahid Razali, Vice Chancellor University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Naraini Kaprawi, Director of Strategic and Corporate Communication Office. Yang Berbahagia Dr. Rosalinda Alias, Professor Faculty of Computing, University Teknologi Malaysia. Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Rushdan Muhammad Jailani, Deputy Director in Higher Education Leadership Academy ACAP. Yang dihormati Dr. Rozana Tafsir, Program Lead Program Management Office. Yang dihormati Madam Nur Shafriza Kamarudania, Senior Assistant Director Governance Division Higher Learning Institution, Higher Education Department. Senior UTHM Officers, UTHM staff, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, I would like to thank you for being here and welcome to the UniTP Orange Book Strengthening Academic Career Pathway and Leadership Development Roadshow for 1000 Zone today. We are very honored to have the privilege of kicking off this session in our beloved university. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Strategic and Corporate Communication Office has been instrumental in helping to organize this event this morning. Well done to the community members for their unconditional commitment for this particular program and has put a lot of effort to ensure this program will run as per plan. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed further, I would like to call upon Al-Fadil Ustaz Amirul Hakim to recite the dua. Please, Ustaz.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ila hadratin Mustafa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa alihi ashabil kiramil Fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Alhamdulillah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma innaka khallaqul azim, innaka sami'un alim, innaka ghafurur rahim, innaka rabbul arshil azim, innaka al-barradul jawadul karim. Allahumma ya karimu ya rahim. Bersempena dengan meraihkan program kami ini, ya Allah, kami memohon inayah, taufik dan hidayah-Mu, ya Allah. Kurniakanlah kesejahteraan dan kebahagiaan serta kesihatan jasmani dan rohani kepada kami, ya Allah. Sesungguhnya hanya kepada-Mu julah, ya Allah, kami merafakkan rasa syukur. Hanya kepada jua-Mu lah, ya Allah, kami menyembah. Dan hanya kepada-Mu jualah, ya Allah, kami memohon pertolongan. Maka Engkau berkatilah dan lancarkanlah program kami ini. Cucurilah rahmat dan rahim-Mu ke atas program yang kami adakan pada pagi ini, ya Allah. Berkatilah ia dari awal hingga akhirnya. Kami memohon perlindungan daripada-Mu, ya Allah, dari segala perkara yang boleh mencacat celakan program kami ini, dan daripada segala perkara yang boleh melalaikan kami dari mentaati segala perintah-Mu, ya Allah. Kepada-Mu jualah, ya Allah, kami berserah. Rabbana alaika tawakkalna wa ilaika anabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adzaban nar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Taqabbalallahu minkum.
Thank you, Ustaz. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this event shall be started by a welcoming speech from our beloved Vice-Chancellor. So if you would join me to welcome Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Wahid Razali to deliver his welcoming speech. Please, Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam satu Malaysia, salam muafakat Johor. Salam juga untuk kita kata rakyat satu Malaysia. Jadi yang bahagia Prof Dr. Rosalinda, Professor of Faculty of Computing from UTM, and everybody knows her. Has been our chair for the council for academic deputy vice chancellors. So welcome to UTHM. Also I'd like to welcome Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rushdan bin Muhammad Jalani. He is the Deputy Director of Center for Talent Development Governance of ACAP, and also Prof. Rozana Tafsir from PMO Office, Ministry of Higher Education. Prof. Tarmizi is PNCs for Pembangunan. Prof. Norani is taking care of PSKK. Staff from UTHM, and also I think yet to come, I would like to address first our colleagues from UTM. If you know, I don't think that they are here as yet, and also from sorry, I thought there was a bus. I was told that UITM. So sorry, on behalf of UTHM, I would like to apologize. UITM yang bus dia belum sampai lagi, and also UITM who is coming over, and also our friends from UTM who is also still, I think, riding the bus. Okay. Jadi, let me just spend 1 or 2 minutes only, because today we would like to listen more to what the consultants or the men or the ladies behind these Prof. Rosalinda dan juga Prof. Rusdan, untuk to deliver what is behind this differentiated career path. And as far as UTHM is concerned, we are progressing on it, we are implementing it, and as it is now, that we are running on 3 tracks, with leadership is not displayed as a career track as such. So it is more of a choice of individual and more of a choice of organization in that sense. So I would like to inform also to the rest of the staff, academics, either in UTM, UTHM, UTM, or UITM, that what is in store for differentiated career path. So I don't know. You got to listen to Prof. Rosalinda and Prof. Rusdan to explain to us. So we have plenty of time to ask questions, and I hope at the end of the day, what is most important is that the impact of it is that everybody will become a hero of their own respective areas. So otherwise that we are, or academics is assumed or is only recognized in the sense of their academic excellence, not teaching experiences or excellence, and also for industrial or professional experiences. But I guess what a professor is, so professor is something, 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 and something who profess, somebody who profess. So this is the thing that we will be looking after. So without further ado, I would like just to disclose here that I'm happy to have our colleague around here, and I hope that please use this platform to question or to discuss or to criticize, because we are on our own rights as academics. So this is what we are for. So I hope that we have a very knowledgeable and also experienced people around here. These 2 guys, they have long been into the leadership of higher educations, and they themselves are practitioners, and I hope that we'll get some benefit of it. And at the end of the day, I hope that everybody will today or after this, session, will have their picks of the tracks. Do I want to be a researcher? Do I want to be teachers or teaching experts? Do I want to be professionals or services to the industries or communities? So these are the things that the question that should at the end of the day be answered before you leave this, and to inform the rest of our colleagues who cannot manage to come over to this session today. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof, for the warm speech. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I have both speakers to be on the stage to proceed with the next task. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have as our first guest presenter today, Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rosalinda alias a professor from Faculty of Computing, UTM, and a member of Orange Book Writers team. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first guest presenter. Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rosalinda alias is an expert in business intelligence, knowledge management, and information system strategy, planning, and quality. Yang berbahagia, Profesor Dr. Rosalinda Alias received a PhD with specialization in Information System from University of Salford, United Kingdom. She also graduated from University of Miami Coral Gables, Florida, USA, with Master of Business Administration, Master of Science, Computer Information System, and Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. She is currently a president of a Malaysian chapter of Association for Information System and also the president of the Persatuan Sistem Maklumat Malaysia, MyAIS. She was also a chairperson of a IPTA Committee of Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and International from 2014 to 2016. A chairperson of a Malaysia Deans of Graduate School Council, MyDEGS from 2009 to 2011, and council member of Malaysia Qualification Agency, MQA, in 2016. As she is one of the authors for the UniTP Orange Book, let us hear her interpretations of the Differentiated Career Pathway DCP for Talent Excellence and its implementation. Please, Prof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning. I think some of our friends are arriving, Prof. Wahid. So, very warm thank you from the team to UTHM, especially Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Wahid Razali, the Vice Chancellor for UTHM. Also to Professor Dr. Naraini Kaprawi, PSKK Director, Dr. Rushdan, my colleague, Dr. Rizana Tabsir, the Head of Program from PMO KPT, Puan Nur Shafriza Kamurdania from Governance IPTA, and of course, I think the most important persons are the representatives from the universities of UTM, UTHM, UITM, who are here to attend the briefing for the Southern Zone on the differentiated career pathway, or we call it Orange Book because it's orange. And I think everyone has got a copy on your chair. So what we are here, or what we have been doing so far, is we have been going to different zones in the country to actually give more detailed descriptions or to share the aspiration of the Orange Book, and more importantly, to address any questions or confusions that you might have regarding the Orange Book. Why was the Orange Book, or how did the Orange Book come to be? How did this come to fruition? It all began with the launch of the Malaysian Higher Education Blueprint in 2015. And as we know, within the blueprint, there are 10 shifts. Shift number 2 is on talent excellence. So, shift number 2 is an extremely important component of the blueprint, such that it was felt that there has to be a guidebook to help universities to plan on how to develop or how to achieve the aspirations of this shift number 2. So the guidebook is called a playbook. So the term playbook is actually adopted from soccer or football, as well as various other sports, but it serves as a guide. So when we say that it's a guide, it means it is not written to the point that it is very detailed, that each university would then follow it word by word. It just serves as a guide for the university to then customize according to the vision and mission of the university. So that's the first point that I have to emphasize here. It's general guide, the implementation, the detailing right up to the development of the system for implementing this differentiated career pathway will be up to the university, which should be aligned to the nature of the university, to the vision and mission of the university. So an institution or university is allowed to deviate or allowed to customize according to how it sees fit. Okay? So that's the first rule. Of course, we know that the Ministry of Higher Education categorized universities according to research university, MTONs, the technical universities, and comprehensive university. So that becomes a general guide in the sense that there should be 3 different ways of implementing the Orange Book. Okay? But even within the respective category of university, UTM, for example, might implement it differently than UKM or USM because of the nature of UTM versus UKM and USM. Okay? So what do we emphasize first and foremost in this talent excellence? We're saying that in Malaysia's knowledge economy, every human capital plays an important role. Professors, lecturers, teachers, all of us play a very important role. When we say that we want everyone to play an important role, it means we want each and every single individual in the institution to have the passion to contribute to the institution. Not see the profession as something just to earn the salary at the end of the month, but to have the passion to educate, to develop human capital for the nation. This passion might be compromised if lecturers are felt to be marginalized. What do we mean by marginalized? It means when you are seen or you are perceived to be less worthy than your counterpart, just because of the promotion criteria that only emphasizes one track. Our study of the practices at all of the universities in Malaysia show that predominantly the criteria for promotion, especially amongst the research universities, but also happening in the non-research universities, the criteria that is placed most highly and which is given most weightage is the research pathway or research track. As a result, those who have devoted their life and their time on other activities apart from research, that means those who have spent a lot of their time on educating their students, who have spent a lot of time with industry or out there with the community providing the services. For promotion exercise, these activities and these contribution and the time that they have spent on these are not taken into account. As a result, more and more these non-researchers who have not been promoted will find that their students who graduated from them, who they educated, who then joined the academic line but became very active in research, suddenly move very fast up the promotion ladder, and suddenly you see your student being a professor. Very young professor. Why? Because the criteria only recognizes research. Okay? So that is why the ministry, in developing the shift number 2 for talent excellence, recognized this. And when we asked why did this happen, one of the responses was that it is easier to quantify research. it is easier to give the marks for research because you know how many papers, how many citations, how much grant projects that you received, you have collected. So all of those are quantifiable. What cannot be measured, what do we say? Doesn't count. So as a result, when we develop this guidebook or this playbook, we tried our best to look at these other pathways. And that was how we came up with initially it was called 4 tracks, but then when there were confusion, because some institutions and some people thought there are only 4 tracks, you must have 4 tracks, so we changed the name. We no longer called it 4 tracks, we changed the name to DCP, a differentiated career pathway. The key word is differentiated, meaning you must recognize that in your community, in your university, there are different people with different strengths and different competencies that will achieve excellence in that particular strength or competency. Very basic, you could have as little as only 2 tracks: research, non-research, or research, teaching. So you can go from 2 tracks up to you can go to 5 tracks. So it's not that there must be 4 tracks. The basic is, so we must understand this principle of tracks, or pathway. Basic, we have 2 pathways, teaching and research. No issues about having 2 pathways. The only problem is that how do we quantify the teaching pathway? That's the challenge. Okay. Now that we have these 2 pathways, we introduce another pathway, which is the practitioner pathway. So why was the practitioner pathway introduced? Because of the importance of industry, the importance of practicing our knowledge, the importance of the engagement between academia and industry. Because of the aspiration that academia and industry should be integrated and synthesized as one. So that's also in the blueprint. So we formulated another pathway. So we have the practitioner pathway, whereby the practitioner pathway is where 2 approaches. Either we get a ready-made successful practitioner out there, CEOs of company, for example, and into the academia to be appointed as professor of practice. This is the term that we use, professor of practice. Or it could be someone in the middle management, not yet reached the CEO level, but then someone who has been in the industry long enough to know what the practice is all about, but is now interested to be an academia. So then this person will go in mid-level. So these 2 categories, top level, mid-level, will go into academia. That's the first approach. The second approach is that you nurture your staff. You nurture them to be those that will excel in applying their knowledge to practice. You nurture them to be the champion of that profession. This person is an academia, but an academia who is well respected by his profession out there. Is recognized by the profession as someone who will shape the profession. So this person is nurtured to be leaders of practice, to be the professor of practice. So for practitioner pathway, we have either outside coming in, 2 ways, right at the top, immediately appointed as professor of practice, or mid-level, appointed as associate professor for promotion, or we nurture someone from lecturer, being a senior lecturer, into becoming a professor of practice. So we have 3 tracks. Now you must understand, the 4th track is different. Do not equate the 4th track like the other 3 tracks. So therefore, that's why we have never, after that discussion, after that we have never ever used 4 tracks, the word 4 tracks. Every time we will say it's DCP, Differentiated Career Pathway. It's not 4 tracks. Because the institutional leadership pathway is not actually on the same level as the 3 tracks of teaching, research, and practice. It's not the same. So you cannot say it's 4 tracks because it's not equivalent as the other 3. The institutional leadership, when we say that it's a pathway, how is it a pathway? First and foremost, we must remember that a lecturer is not a lecturer. You are not an academic staff. You are not in academia if you do not have the basic competencies of teaching. That's most important. You must have the process of education, teaching. You must be doing research in your discipline, as well as research in how to teach. And you also must practice. Otherwise, you'll just be someone who talks about theory, but you don't know how to apply your knowledge. These 3 components are essential. Every single one, once you have been appointed as an academic staff, you must gain basic competency in the 3 areas. Okay? I think the slides are moving naturally. Siapa yang kawal slides tu? Saya tak masuk slide pun lagi. Kenapa dia gerak-gerak? Dia read my mind. Dia kata, oh agaknya ni slide ni sekarang. Saya baru mukadimah, belum masuk slide lagi. Sebab nanti bila dah masuk slide, semua duk baca slide tu, lepas tu tak dapat nak menghayati apa semua. Lepas tu orang yang jaga slide tu pergi tunjuk macam-macam benda. Jangan tunjuk apa-apa lagi. Boleh ya? Siapa yang kat belakang tu? Tu pasal saya kata saya nak saya control slide. Okay. So, this is something that you must understand this. All the staff must get the basic competencies in the 3 areas. No shortcut. You must be good in teaching. You must be good in research. You must be good in applying your knowledge. Then there comes this question. How many years to do that? How many years that you can become good? Initially, the team decided, okay, let's put 5 years. But after we went through several processes of engagement, there was argument. For some people, it could take very short while for them to get basic competencies. Even 3 years, they are already good. Many papers, can teach the class, can supervise students, and also being respected by their industry, appointed as consultants for various projects. For some people, it's 3 years. For some people, it takes longer. Could take 7 years, could take 8 years, 10 years. The thing is, okay, this is another thing that I want to emphasize, that we want to emphasize about the Orange Book. It is not prescriptive. That's why we don't tell you must be within 3 years, must be within 5 years, must be within 7 years. It is not prescriptive. It is only guide. So we hope when it comes to implementation at your university, please do not turn it to become a robot. What do we mean by becoming a robot? We know that some universities is so excited about it that they go to the point of computerizing everything, calculating everything, counting everything, even things that cannot be counted and calculated. Also, they want to put numbers, put in the system, such that who decides gets promotion? Not the VC, not the DVC, not the dean. Computer tells you, okay, this person can be promoted. The whole aspect about not prescriptive, not supposed to be A to Z what you have to follow, should not be automated to the point that there is no area for judgment, for wisdom to come in. Then you know you have reached a point that you should turn back. Okay? So that's why the question, we have been receiving questions. How many years until we can get someone into the institutional leadership pathway? No answer. There is no answer. Not 5 years, not 6 years, not 7 years, not 10 years. Depends on the person. Depends on the institution. But do not fast track. Do not fast track someone just because you see that someone has leadership. Oh, dia ni macam ada bakat jadi dekan ni. He or she has potential to be a leader. Dia tak khatam lagi mengajar student. Tak graduatekan student pun lagi. Tak supervise lagi. Baru ajar berapa kelas. Papers baru setakat berapa. Papers tak cukup lagi. Apatah lagi dekat industri pun mungkin tak kenal lagi. Tak ada buat consultancy project je. Tapi just because dia ada tokoh nak jadi pemimpin, kita pun terus okeylah masuk dia dalam institutional leadership. Another thing, what do we mean by institutional leadership? The person who goes into the institutional leadership can be considered for promotion. When we talk about promotion, that means to be promoted to associate professor, and then to be promoted to professor, is nurtured to be promoted on that. So, when we say can be nurtured to be promoted as that, eventually to become what is the ultimate in an institution, the leader of the institution? The vice chancellor. So this person can be harnessed, can be nurtured to become eventually dean, director, deputy vice chancellor, vice chancellor. But if that person is not competent in teaching, not competent in research, not recognized by his profession, that person cannot be considered for the institutional leadership. And we have also put, which I will share the slides with you later, the percentage for institutional leadership is very small. The percentage is almost as small, even in fact, it is smaller than the practice pathway. So, be very careful who you select into the institutional leadership pathway. Okay, so that's the preamble, mukadimah. So now we go into the details. Before I go into the details, is everyone here still not clear about these 4 pathways. Oh, I haven't mentioned about the fifth pathway. So we have 3 basic. 1 is addition, not equivalent to the 3. So now we have 4. What is the 5th pathway? The 5th pathway is we cannot achieve this overnight. We cannot achieve the ideas within immediately. One of the things in chapter 3 that we will highlight is that each university must do an assessment, or what we call simulation, of the current strengths of your academic staff. You must know, the registrar, the vice chancellor must know already. That means, I don't want to put Prof. Wahid in a spot, but then if we ask the vice chancellor, how many percentage of your staff are now in teaching, in research, in institutional leadership, in practice? So each institution must already know. You must have a general idea. That becomes the starting point for you to set what is the percentage that you desire. When you identify, we found that for some universities, the percentage for the institutional leadership, that means when we ask the university, count how many heads of departments, how many deans, directors, DVCs, all that you count, so all of those are in the institutional leadership. Some universities have up to 20% of their staff in institutional leadership, which is far too many according to our guide. So that has to be done first. Yeah? So let me now begin with the slide. So as we know, guidelines, so the objective. So next please. So to do this, we actually did a survey to find out. So this was done in August 2015. We asked an unlimited number of, because we sent through email. So we sent to all universities, social media, everyone. We got a total of 5,144 respondents who gave or responded to the survey. So when we did the survey, we found that actually majority, 46% of the staff at that time, August 2015, they see themselves as passionate educators. And 30% see themselves as active researcher. So the question is, how do you see yourself? And the next question we asked was, which pathway would you prefer to be? We haven't done anything at that time. We just asked, which pathway do you think you are now? And which pathway would you like to be? So we see a reduction in the percentage of those who see themselves as educator, and an slight increase of 3%. So that means the 3% from the educator would like to become researchers. So that's where we see the difference in the percentage. What do you think the percentage would be if we do the survey now? I would advise all universities, in fact that is in chapter 2 for the implementation guideline, you have to do a survey. One, just now we said every institution must already do a survey based on current performance, not asking the lecturers. One is based on current performance, identify how many percent in each pathway. The second one is ask the lecturer these 2 questions. Where do you see yourself now? Where would you like to be? And you should put a timeline. Let's say, where would you like to be in 3 years' time? Or where would you like to be when you want to apply for promotion? Or the question should be, which pathway would you choose to apply for promotion? So it will be very different from one person to another person. For one person, could be, that will be about 5 years more time that I will apply for promotion. Another person might be thinking about applying for promotion next year. That two data should be used. Very critical and essential for the organization, for the university to decide now. How many percentage you have to put or you want to target for each pathway. So that is how you plan then to move from the current status to the desired composition of your staff in each of the pathway. So how did we do this book? What was the approach? So a few of us, how many, Rusdan? I think about, actually there were many, I think many actually initially. But at the end of the day, when we came to the workshop and a lot of overtime and all of that, I would say there were really just about 5 or 6 people who were really into this, who really heart and soul can know the book without having to read it, know the book inside and out. And that's why we have been asked to talk about the book. Okay? Because we slept with the book, we dreamed the book, we mandi also with the book, every time we think about DCP. Okay? So, after that, we were asked to present to so many groups. 5, 6 of us. We were asked to present to staff association. We were asked to present to different universities, top universities. We were asked to present to vice chancellor, to board of directors, so many different groups, such that the book became to what it became to be today. So a lot of town hall sessions. But still, many people do not know about the book. Or maybe do not even know about this DCP. Why? Because many people still say, what is DCP? They still don't know. What is this for track? So that's why we decided the book is published, but we must go to all the different zones to explain about the book. Okay, so we go to chapter 1. Next. So this chapter 1 is all about why DCP is important. Okay. Next. Okay. So it's all about talent excellence. We must appreciate talent. So there must be a total talent ecosystem so that everyone can be excellent. Everyone will achieve excellence in the university. And there also has to be specialization in the university. And we must recognize there are different levels of excellence. And it is based on meritocracy of the different excellence. And the last point, it must be aligned to the institution. That's why each institution cannot be the same. Each institution will have a different DCP implementation. So for those institutions who keep asking from our rep in UTM, can you share with us what UTM has done? Or those who ask from UITM, because they are the one who are most ahead. UITM is the one with most ahead in terms of DCP. You cannot use UITMs, because UITMs is designed for UITM. So every institution must have its own DCP formulation. So next we have, these are the excellence. I have to emphasize another thing, because by the time this is the 5th roadshow, I think, we already know what are the questions. So another question is that many people think that inspiring educator, okay, this is what's happening in the inspiring educator pathway. First thing, people choose the teaching pathway because they don't want to do research. Or not that they don't want to do research, but because research is not the most important activity for this person. But in the criteria in the book that we describe, for teaching pathway, it is put there scholarship of teaching and learning. It's not just about how many students you teach or how many classes you have or how many courses you have handled. It also has the word scholarship of teaching. So that means even in the teaching pathway, we also have emphasis on the research of teaching or the pedagogy of teaching. So some people, they are good educators, but they are not in education faculty. So they don't do research in teaching. So then they don't fulfill the criteria for the teaching excellence. We emphasize here that the scholarship of teaching and learning is something that you need to nurture. So this is all about nurturing. So for someone who goes or who chooses the passionate educator or inspiring educator pathway, they must learn the philosophy of teaching, the pedagogy of teaching. That is what we mean by scholarship of teaching. So they build themselves towards that. So they will teach. So if you look at the indicators, it will include all of those that I've mentioned just now. Designing curriculum, being the advisor for that subject or for that discipline, and also doing research into what is the best way to educate. For example, in UTM, because we are very much engineering oriented, which is the same as MTONs, for example, UTHM, so we place a lot of importance on engineering education. So those who are really into the discipline of engineering education, you should choose the teaching pathway. So your research is in there. So then we have accomplished researcher. So those are the criteria: experienced practitioner and institutional leadership, as we've mentioned. Okay. So next, the concept of the differentiated career pathway, as I've mentioned just now, as I've highlighted. So we want to recognize the diversity and the differences of the strengths of each of the pathway. Okay, next. Now this is the weightage, the framework where we have the proportion. So please note, teaching and research, for teaching pathway and for research pathway, so we say that for promotion, the percentage should be between 50 to 65%. Either teaching or research, depending on which pathway. And for professional practice and institutional leadership, so for professional practice, 30 to 50% on the services, and for institutional leadership, 30 to 60% on the leadership activities will be considered for promotion. And the other criteria is then distributed as shown in the framework. Okay, next. We have a special slide on talking about the experienced practitioner. So this is where I've mentioned just now the concept of the professor of practice. Okay? So there are two ways. Remember when I said either from outside to inside or we nurture. So practitioners from non-academic careers or professional practice academics whom we nurture. So all in all, next, what we see is that everyone must be good. We are all expected to excel in all core functions of teaching, research, and services to industry and community. And eventually, we then must position ourselves in a particular pathway. So this is where role specialization, so excellent in one of the pathway, one of the three pathway, not four pathway. You position yourself in one of the three pathway. We know that we have some academic staff who tell us, I envision myself to be a vice chancellor. I want to be in the institutional leadership pathway. No, you don't have the option of saying, I want to be in the institutional leadership pathway. 3 options only: teaching, research, or practice. So you have to go into one of the 3 pathway and demonstrate that in that pathway you are a leader. You go into research, you are appointed as the project leader. You go into teaching, you are invited, you are being asked to be the curriculum, to develop curriculum at international level. You represent your knowledge of your disciplines on how to educate in your discipline. For practice, you are continuously being referred by the industry, appointed as consultants, appointed to head the professional association for that discipline. You must show that you are a leader for one of the 3 tracks. Then only the university will say, oh, this person has potential to be institution leader. You cannot be an institution leader if you cannot even be a leader of your research, or leader of teaching, or leader of practice. So that's the principle that we must understand. Yeah? And then when we have all these people, groups of people strong in teaching, excel in research, excel in contributing to the industry, at the end of the day, we will have institution that is very high performing institution. That is the whole idea. So that is chapter 1. I shall stop here. I know I've spent a lot of time, Dr. Rushdan, but I think this has to be done. Sorry to take up some of your time, but that is the basic. Do we have any questions before I go on to the implementation? Yes, please. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Some people don't know what is GE, graduate employability. Mm. Students. On developing the student as a person. That is in the education. You educate. Okay, so all of those must be, what did I mention just now? These are all things that previously not counted, not quantified, not even recorded. You know, you do it, but you don't record it. So all of those, we must learn to then itemize and put measures to it. Yes.
Okay, one more thing, in terms of percentage, okay, you have mentioned your percentage for each categories.
Yes.
Teaching pathway, research, and so on. But then if you look on every items under teaching, for example, if I need to get, for example, 10 marks from research category, for example, I only have to publish. But if I need 10 marks from teaching or developing a student, I have to do about 50 programs, so that I can get 10 marks. So in terms of the percentage for each subcategory,
That is in chapter 2. Okay. Sabar. We haven't gone into the implementation yet. We are now talking about the philosophy, what the whole idea of differentiated career pathway is about. Yeah, we will reach that. Any questions on the philosophy? Clear, eh? So there's no confusion about 4 tracks or what about the institutional leadership track and all of that. Yeah? Okay, so now we go to the second chapter. So this is on the implementation process. So in this chapter, we will tell you what is the guiding principles, what are the critical elements, and what do different people in the university have to do. Different people in the university have different roles in the implementation, and we also talk something about the timeline also on how to achieve this. So next. So what is the guiding principle? Next. Okay, so the guiding principle, this is very important. So we say that we want to nurture holistic academic with all of the competencies. There must be basic competencies in teaching, research, and practice. Practicing your knowledge. Okay? But we want to build leadership. We want to build excellence in one domain. We want to move from the era of jack of all trades, master of none. Do we know what that means? Jack of all trades, everything you can do. But you cannot be good, really good, excellent in one. That is why we felt, and that has been happening for many, many years. You become, at the end of the day, you try to do so many things, becoming superwoman, superman, trying to do everything. But at the end of the day, you're not good at anything. Because your time is limited. So therefore, we want to nurture excellence in one pathway. Another philosophy is we have to design to be aligned with the institution. I've also emphasized that. Must be aligned to the institution. And when we set the pathway percentage, how many percent in research, how many percent in teaching, how many percent in practice, we must recognize collegiality and respect for individual diversity. We do not want to hear any more complaints, or not complaints but sadness amongst academics who feel that they are made to feel they are not contributing. Just because they are not excellent high-flying researchers in a research university, this staff is made to feel not valued. So we want everyone to feel that they belong and they can contribute to the best of their strength for the institution. And there should be fairness. That's another. It must be fair. And there must be mutual benefit. And we must build leaders. So this is where Dr. Rushdan will come in. How do we build this leadership? How do we develop this leadership so that there will be career growth opportunities? We do not want to have academic staff who retire or who have been at the same grade for the past 15 years or 20 years. So some academic staff, they retire just the same place where they started. So that means there is no opportunity for growth. So those are basic principles. So what do organizations or institutions have to do? Next slide. First thing, I've mentioned this. There must be simulation. 2 levels of simulation. One is at the institution level, so that you know how many percent in each pathway. And then you simulate. What happens if we increase the percentage of research for an RU, let's say? Or what happens if we reduce the percentage in practice? So you try to simulate the different, so see what will happen to your institution if we have different composition. So there must be simulation of the different percentages. That's institution level. The next level we must do at individual level. I mentioned just now about doing the survey. Survey is about what we need and what we want. That's emotion. When we talk about simulate, it's not survey. Simulate and survey, two different things. Survey, you ask the feeling or the attitude, what you think you want, which pathway you think you want. But simulation means looking at the curriculum vitae, looking at the annual performance assessment of the staff, looking at the whole items in there, try to see whether this staff can be promoted in this pathway versus another pathway. But first of all, before you do that, can the staff be promoted under the current system, the one track? Because currently almost everyone, all institutions is one track. So first thing is that staff, can that staff be promoted in that track? Okay. First data. Second data, evaluate the staff from his CV, his or her CV. Can that staff be promoted under the track that he or she thinks he or she should be promoted? Let's say teaching. Or, and then the next step, try to put that staff in another pathway. So we will know, one case that will happen is, for example, Mr. or Mrs. A cannot be promoted under the current method, which is single track, cannot be promoted. Okay. Then we put all his CV, go through the CV, try to evaluate under the, let's say he or she feels that he should be in teaching pathway. So see whether if we put under the teaching pathway, can he or she be promoted or not? So if we find that, yes, indeed he or she can be promoted under the teaching pathway, then we cross-check. If we put this person under the research pathway, can the person be promoted or not? So it should be, we find that cannot be promoted under the research pathway. So obviously the teaching pathway is where he or she excels. So that's the simulation that we have to do. And then we have to monitor. We have to send for training. We have to build. We have to periodically review. Once he or she chooses this particular pathway, after every year you must assess, is he or she doing well in this pathway? Let's see after 3 years, for example, can he or she be promoted within that pathway? So periodic review must be done. Okay? If necessary, we might have to move that person to another pathway if we see that he or she is not progressing well in that pathway. In the meantime, because we cannot achieve this overnight, right? We can allow promotion for hybrid pathway. The fifth, remember I said about the fifth pathway? So we should allow, in the meantime, people to be promoted. They are not excellent in one particular, but they are good in several. So you come up with a promotion where it's equitable. Because maybe your current system now, we know majority is more inclined research. Okay, more favorable to those who are strong in research. So we formulate a hybrid pathway which recognizes excellence in teaching, research, as well as practice. Okay? So that is the... And after that, please make sure the workload distribution must be given according to the pathway. So if the person chooses research pathway, do not give as many responsibilities or assignments for teaching or for practice. Give more workload under that pathway that he or she has chosen. I have to mention another thing here that I need. Okay, next slide. This is where it is. Everyone in the university is responsible for the implementation of DCP. There has to be a task force. So there has to be a strategic management office. That's what we call it in UTM, SMO. I think in UTHM is Prof. Nuraini, you call komunikasi korporat. Okay, so komunikasi korporat. Different universities have different names, but this is where you start to recognize and you formulate policy for DCP, and then you do the task force to identify the indicators and the criteria. So a lot of people will be busy working on the criteria for each of those. And then once you have formulated some kind of draft, you must buy in, present. Don't wait until it's perfect. You keep it behind closed doors. Only the task force know, only the selected group of people know. Everything you want so detailed until very get endorsement of everyone. You get endorsed right up to LPU, then only you want to tell the people. Wrong approach. Yes, you have a task force, but do not forget the people. Don't assume that the people will accept whatever that you have spent hours and days and months working on this DCP implementation. So, buy in from day one. Every time you have done something, you have discussed something, have had a workshop, present. Do a jerayawara to your academic staff. Get feedback. Record attendance so that later on, several years or months down the road, if someone complains, then we say, see, you didn't attend our jerayawara. Okay, so must have the buy-in. And then execute. I have to mention here, remember who gives recommendation for our promotion? That's to be considered. But who we have reviewer, right? We have external, we have internal reviewer, the committee, but we also have external reviewer. For some universities like the external reviewer must be overseas. Does this person know about 4-track, 5-track, 3-track, differentiated career pathway? No, they don't know about this. So please, I beg registrar office, please make sure you don't get left behind. Registrar office, make sure your external reviewers know that these people is being promoted under teaching pathway. Don't suddenly, this person is teaching pathway. And then you send to this reviewer, then the reviewer says, oh, not enough research, should produce more papers, should have more research grant, all of that. So, registrar office, please design your instrument for evaluation, for promotion. You do all the criteria, counting everything in the system, but then suddenly when you send to the reviewer, you just send a simple form. Please evaluate. The person doesn't even know about track, all this pathway business. So, please design the evaluation instrument and enlighten your reviewers about the pathway concept. Okay? And then, please, we hope that the registrar office, the human resource, the leadership unit will always support the staff in the track as we move along this. This is very important. So next, this is the timeline that we are talking about. Again, remember, this book is not prescriptive, not a prescriptive book. It's a playbook. It's a guidebook. Okay? So we are saying it should take about maybe 1 to 3 months for you to do the workshops, the first workshops. And then maybe 4 to 6 months to do the feedback, get the buy-in. and then do the next series of workshop to revise all of that based on the feedback that you have received. And then you should be able, within a year, to implement the DCP once you have really started on it. Okay? So at the most 2 years, but should not be more than 2 years. That is what we're talking about in terms of timeline. Next slide. Recommended weightage for each pathway. So I've showed this just now. So bearing in mind each pathway. Again, please do not equate. If I were given a choice, I would not draw this framework like this. I would not put the institutional leadership pathway as the same like that. I would put it in a different place. So, because the institutional leadership places so much weightage on the leadership and the management related activity, but still on research and services 10 to 40, but I am not happy actually. Personally, this is just my personal unhappiness that I have to share with everyone because they give me the floor to be the speaker, so I have to share my unhappiness. In the institutional leadership, because at one point we had everything more or less like nicely divided up, but during the engagement with the board of directors, the board of directors wanted us to increase the percentage for leadership and management related activities. But which criteria was the sacrifice? The criteria that became the sacrifice was the teaching. So that's why we see there, institutional leadership for teaching and supervision, they only allocate 5 to 10%. Compared to research and services, 10 to 40. I worry that we might have leaders who are not good educators. Usually the ones with the cult, Dr. Rushdan, are the educators. The cult tu memang ada dekat educator. So, saya ni kononnya nak mempengaruhi lah yang ada kat sini. Sebab ni guide je, sebab saya tak setuju tu. Saya tak setuju, tapi saya sebab letak saya dekat mikrofon ni, jadi saya nak mempengaruhi. Kalau boleh sepatutnya lah, bagilah respect sikit pada teaching. So, kalaupun seseorang tu nak naikkan pangkat dia dekat institutional leadership, tapi takkanlah nilai dia punya teaching dan supervision tu hanya at the most 10% je. Should be more. So, it's down to you, down to the university on the recommended. Now, how many proportion? Next slide. So, leadership ni pun sebenarnya masa kita bincang dekat workshop, kita letak much smaller for the leadership. Kita letak 5 sampai 15. Tapi bila dah jumpa board of director apa semua tu, they wanted more for the leadership. So jadinya for the leadership jadi 10 to 20%. Sebabnya apa? Nak cakaplah sebenarnya, sebabnya kebanyakan universiti bila kita kaji-kaji, kita buat survey, kebanyakan universiti memang dah already put appointment about 20% of their staff in management position or in leadership position. So that is the ni lah. Okay, that is why letak situ 10 to 20%. So kalau research university, you should have 40 to 60% in research pathway. Kalau MTON, UTHM, you should have about 15 to 25% in practice. So itu besar daripada RU dengan komprehensif. So that means amongst, kalau banding dengan RU dengan komprehensif, dekat MTON lah paling ramai orang dalam practice pathway. Sehingga can be up to quarter of your population is in practice. Okay? In the practice pathway. And dia divide up equally antara teaching and research kalau MTONs. So between 30 to 40%. Okay, boleh tak klik dekat arrow tu? Arrow kuning kat bawah tu. So kita telah buat tinjauan status semasa, apakah pelaksanaan, ni salah ni. Tolong Zazliza, mana Zaz? Slide ni salah. Jangan tulis 4 laluan kerjaya. Should be DCP, Differentiated Career Pathway, bukannya 4 laluan kerjaya. So ni kita kena ubah. Okay, next. So we find this is the current status of each of the university. Saya pun tak nampak ni sebenarnya. So kita nampak Dr. Rusdan, tolong sikit. Boleh?
Di sini yang kita boleh nampak, USIM telah mengadakan 3 siri bengkel taklimat yang melibatkan dekan, dan USIM juga telah ada satu jawatankuasa khas laluan kerjaya yang telah ditubuhkan. Kemudian dia juga telah melantik Prof. Salina untuk menjadi pengurusi jawatankuasa khas kenaikan pangkat. Jadi USIM maknanya dia dah bergerak since 2016 lah. I think even now they are still in the progress untuk menerangkan lagi dan juga merancang untuk melaksanakannya untuk, they said next year, for USIM. So for UPNM, mereka dah bersetuju untuk melaksanakannya, dan telah ada bengkel pun dibuat oleh Prof. Datuk Saleh sendiri. Okay, next. UNIZA telah merangka laluan kerjaya tersebut, dan di peringkat mereka, pelaksanaannya mereka telah membuat penilaian prestasi berdasarkan laluan kerjaya dan akan mula implementasi pada bulan September 2017. I think one of our officer dah pergi ke UNIZA untuk memberi penerangan yang agak detail juga. UMP, mereka pun telah melaksanakan rubrik pemilihan, track dan juga rubrik kenaikan pangkat, dan juga ada bajet yang mereka sediakan. Cuma nampaknya mungkin tak begitu laju sangat kot UMP ni, masih peringkat awal lagi. Di USM, kita dah pergi baru-baru ni, dan USM memang menurut Dato' Asma, dia kata by September mereka akan mula laksanakan DCP ni. Jadi USM memang agak laju, bro, sebab Dato' Asma memang really sungguh untuk melaksanakan DCP ni. Okay, next. UMT, mereka telah mendukungkan jawatankuasa pembangunan kriteria dan juga kita telah pergi sana buat taklimat dan mereka pun telah melaksanakan kriteria dia. UTHM sedang proses membangunkan sasaran kerja tahunan dan telah buat soal selidik dan dicarangkan untuk dibuat pada 2018. Okey, maknanya lagi setahun daripada sekarang lah. UPSI akan dilaksanakan pada 2018. Mereka pun telah buat town hall dan mereka pun telah mengemaskini kriteria dan ada draft kriteria untuk laluan fortra ini. Okay, next. UMS basically pun telah ada perbincangan awal. Mereka memang bersetuju. So far memang tak adalah universiti yang tak setuju, semua bersetujulah. Okay. Cuma dari segi peringkat pelaksanaan tu ada yang telah buat bengkel, ada yang baru nak merangka dan seumpamanya. Dan mereka juga telah ada pembangunan polisi. UTM, Prof.
Okay, so UTM sebenarnya cerita DCP ni dah panjang. Cerita DCP ni bermula pada tahun, bila start je blueprint kita pun start. So kita dah mula daripada Oktober 2015, kita dah lantik task force. Dan kita dah ada beberapa sesi pembentangan untuk penerangan dan juga sesi town hall dan beberapa kali simulasi dan yang terakhir akan dibawa ke JPU dan LPU. Okay, akan dibawa ke JPU dan LPU. Targetnya adalah untuk dilaksanakan, so jawatan kuasa khas laluan kerjaya akan dilaksanakan mulai Julai dan akan dilaksanakan 5 track. So UTM akan laksana 5 track daripada 2018 hingga 2019. Tahun 2020 nanti baru kita akan go fully on the 4 tracks. Dan kita ada juga kita punya own guidebook yang lebih terperinci lagi untuk UTM dan juga sedang dibangunkan satu sistem untuk membuat penilaian menggunakan semua data-data yang sedia ada, akan mengambil kira aspek kuantitatif dan juga kualitatif. Next. Okay, dan UTHM mungkin siapa yang boleh cerita UTHM punya? Prof Noraini, boleh cerita UTHM? Siapa yang paling tahu UTHM punya progress?
Sebenarnya sepatutnya bukan saya lah. Sepatutnya ialah pendaftar Encik Halim yang memaklumkan perkara ini. Tapi untuk UTHM sebenarnya kita dah bangunkan, kita dah bina the differentiated pathway is 3 pathway. Yeah, there is teaching and learning, research and practice. Practice tu, dalam practice actually termasuklah kerja-kerja consultancy, kerja-kerja juga kemasyarakatan and so on. But again, kita memang selari dengan hasrat KPT dan juga seperti yang telah Profesor Dr. Rosalinda terangkan tadi, that leadership is terhasil daripada leadership in that 3 differentiated pathway. Now kita telah bina, walaupun kita belum betul-betul implement, tapi mungkin esok Dr. Wahid akan ada cerita sikit, because besok kita ada sesi bersama Dr. Wahid. Yeah. I think dia akan sikit ulas. Tapi untuk yang lain-lain dari universiti lain, begitulah UTHM sudah bangunkan, tapi dari segi implementasi masih lagi in the pipeline. Itu je. Thank you.
UUM, so UUM dah mula last year, dijangka akan siap dalam tahun ni, bulan Julai, dan akan diadakan town hall. Dan mereka buat 2 sahaja dahulu. UUM cuma buat 2, teaching dengan research sahaja. Okay, buat masa ni. Okay, next. Ada lagi? Okay, so ini pun kita, so itu saja. Sekarang saya pass kepada Dr. Rushdan untuk terangkan bab 3. Boleh? Oh yes. So ini implementation. So tadi ada soalan tentang implementation. So kita buka soalan bagi implementation chapter 2.
Any question? Is there any question from the floor for the second chapter or even for the first chapter? I think first chapter is clear, Prof. For the second chapter, implementations of the DCP.
Yeah.
Yang pasal Prof maklumkan tadi, Prof research tak ada masalah in calculating atau measuring dia punya indicators.
Yes.
Tapi in teaching and learning teaching and learning especially dia memang susah untuk kita measure dia punya indicators, especially macam saya beritahu yang student development program tu. Jadi idea Prof how to actually measure yang unmeasurable things.
So dalam implementation stage, boleh tak yang jaga slide buka kepada page 84? So dalam implementation stage sekarang ni, task force kena come up with indicators. So kita dah kata di sini bahawa student development sepatutnya dimasukkan bawah education. Kita kata educator itu. So bila you come up with the criteria, so di sini kita kongsikan yang UITM punya. So kalau kita lihat UITM, dia ada compulsory criteria, dia ada general criteria dan dia ada specific criteria. So dalam kriteria ini, so you should try to include the student development punya activities yang membina sahsiah, membina kepimpinan pelajar, membina global entrepreneurial spirit. Itu semua you kena masukkanlah dalam bagaimana ianya termasuk dalam bila kita kata educating the student. So try to include that at that. So kita memang dalam bila kita merangka ni, memang kita tak ada ni lah, kita tak ada letakkan as a criteria, kita cuma ambil contoh-contoh. That's why kita ada contoh UM, kita ada contoh UITM. So memang dalam contoh-contoh yang kita lihat tu lah yang kita tengok, memang tak ada yang letak sangat kriteria yang tentang student development. Ada juga yang cuba letak dalam servis, ada juga yang letakkan dalam perkhidmatan, that means dalam praktis itu. So ada yang cuba masukkan di situ aspek yang membina community, semangat dengan community, so dia masukkan dekat the practice punya pathway. But it is up to the university, mengikut apa yang universiti itu letak sebagai penting lah.
Thank you, Dr. Nick. Yes, is there any else question for the second chapter? Okay.
Mungkin perlu mic.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih bagi Prof dan juga PM Dr. Rashidan. Saya tengok pada chapter 1 rasanya ni, recommended framework for DCP. Balik pada apa yang Prof suarakan tadi, iaitu bagi pathway, institutional leadership pathway. Kalau kita tengok di situ, teaching
muka
the
surat
message.
berapa ya? Boleh surat slides boleh pergi situ.
37.
Slides pergi 37 please.
Okay.
Slide ni tak bergerak juga lagi. 37 yang recommended framework exhibit 10.
Tak ada, tak apa.
Kenapa slide tak bergerak? Orang dia dah lari. Gitu aja. Tak ada orang kat situ.
Tak ada orang. Okay. Sekejap.
Sebab benda ni
Boleh
detail juga kan. I think you need
yang ni kita boleh rujuk dalam buku kan.
Ataupun
tak
semua
apa,
orang
Prof.
boleh
Saya
tengok
ingat.
lah muka slide 37.
37 kan.
37,
Right.
okay.
Untuk the fourth punya pathway
Yeah.
untuk leadership, kalau kita tengok teaching macam Prof kata tadi, the maximum ialah 10%. Yang itu saya rasa perlu kita lihat balik, because kalau kita tengok lecturer, kita dilantik DS, which is didik siswa. So means that the core business actually is teaching. So actually is unfair if we put the maximum 10 actually. Because dan ini pun kita ambil contoh, because kita ada 3 kategori universiti, comprehensive, kita ada M-Tone dan juga kita ada research university. Okay, kalau kita ambil comprehensive, let's say kita ambil UTHM, because the focus dia lebih kepada teaching actually. Because the undergraduate student ramai compared to research university. But in that case, saya rasa unfair to the lecturer. Yes, because the maximum ialah 10. If we compare dengan yang lain-lain tu, dia jauh sangat beza. Dia jauh sangat beza. Itu satu.
So macam saya dah kata, so sekarang buku ni dah dipublish. There will not be a revision of this book. Tapi sekarang dekat institusi you boleh.
Betul.
You boleh ubahkan.
That's why saya rasa ini adalah guideline dan kita tak perlu terlampau rigid.
Tak. Memang kita pun tak minta you.
Rigid, Tetapi we have to work within the range. That's the problem kan. Because we cannot go above 10% because that the guideline yang diberi kepada kita. Itu satu. Yang kedua, kalau kita tengok line yang terakhir, management and leadership, saya setuju dari segi kalau laluan keempat itu dia bagi 30 hingga 60. Tetapi ini pula juga saya tengok bergantung kepada universiti. Mana-mana yang universiti baru, kita tidak dapat nafikan bahawa kerja-kerja management tu banyak. Dan di-involve lecturer. Contohnya kita nak bangunkan kurikulum dan sebagainya. So kalau kita tengok yang pilih laluan-laluan lain tu, maksimum ialah 10. Tetapi realiti sebenar bila kita pergi, based on the university, kerja-kerja pengurusan tu kadang-kadang melebihi daripada apa yang lain. Itu satu.
Dari segi masa.
Yes, dan saya tengok dari segi survey yang dibuat di depan itu, I'm not sure sama ada dalam within the survey itu, kita ada tanya lecturer how many percent yang dia involved in the management and leadership punya kerja. Dia punya jawapan adalah
Masa tu bila kita survey daripada responden tu, 40% daripada responden tu already having a post.
Okay.
So bayangkan 5,144 orang telah memberi respon. 40% daripada 5,144 orang. That is berapa 4 kali about 2,000 lah So 2,000 orang pada ketika itu pun dah memang pegang post.
So that's mean supposednya allocation for the leadership and management tu kita kena consider agak besar juga lah.
Yes, kalau ikut current status memang sebenarnya besar, is 20%.
20%. So saya rasa itu saja, Prof. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Ada soalan lain?
Okay, saya ada sikit lebih kepada
Oh, okay, sorry.
Lebih kepada implementation, maybe UTM can share dia punya experience lah. Sebab I think this is the part of to nak assess dan memberikan keadilan dalam penilaian kepada pensyarah. Jadi soalan saya, ketika bila seorang pensyarah itu perlu memilih laluan ini, dan adakah laluan ini tidak boleh ditukar sepanjang perkhidmatan? Contohnya kalau katakan seorang pensyarah itu memilih laluan research ni more kepada research grant dan sebagainya, but sometimes research grant funding is very limited, kan? Jadi bolehkah ialah dia memilih laluan lain berdasarkan kepada kekangan tertentu? Dan kalau itu berlaku agak chaotic sikit, every time akan berubah laluan, dan atau bagaimana cara?
Ya, okey. Semasa kita berbincang dekat kita punya group yang small group, masa tu kita ada letakkan satu figure. Kita kata can only change 2 times. Tapi after that kita decide kita tak nak letak a figure. So kita kata it is up to the institution. So UTM telah bincang perkara ini, jadi saya nak minta lah UTM punya wakil. Siapa antara tiga? Siapa? Datuk Nazri?
Saya kena jawab.
Boleh Datuk face the audience please.
Saya rasa Prof Ros boleh jawab lagi. Okey, apa boleh saya?
Yes, please.
Okey, apa yang UTM buat? Satunya tadi tentang nak jawab yang soalan yang sebelum ini.
Yes.
Tentang institutional leadership itu. Kita sebenarnya IL ini is invited. Invited maknanya dia telah katakan sebagai kita buat 10% saja pengajaran, 10% saja. Kita pegang kepada itu, tetapi setelah dia masuk kepada IL, bukan sebelum dia masuk. Setelah dijemput masuk IL ini, baru kita bagi dia 10% pengajaran. Itu satulah yang kata. Jadi maknanya sebelum itu, mungkin 10 tahun macam Prof Ros kata, mungkin lebih pada itu, dia mesti mengajar lebih banyak pada 10% lah. Itu yang pertamanya. Dan soalan tentang move itu, memang kita ada policy, dia boleh berubah 2 kali sepanjang perkhidmatan itu. Sebelum dia pergi ke next step itu, dia boleh 2 kali berubah. Katakan dia pergi start teaching dan dia boleh pergi pada research dan memikirkan tentang isu-isu grant, isu dan sebagainya. So kita benarkan itu. Tetapi kita juga ada cap lah policy dari segi kita tidak mahu macam risiko research terjejas, dan kita ada cap dari segi percentage yang boleh bergerak. Itu tak boleh terlalu ramai kan, nanti orang pergi research, semua orang pergi teaching, dan we have problems with the RU status. So itu kena kekal lah. Saya situ juga.
Ya, bila kita kata 2 tahun, 2 kali pun, sebenarnya 2 kali bagi orang yang 50 tahun umurnya berbeza dengan 2 kali bagi orang yang 30 tahun umurnya. So that's why masa kita punya pembincangan group, kita kata kalau kita letak 2 tahun, 2 kali, tak sama. So at one point kita bincang, maybe we should say can only switch within once every 5 to 7 years. Kita cakap macam tu. So ataupun switch once only within 8 years. So bukannya kita kata berapa kali. So kita kata berapa kali dalam masa berapa tahun dia boleh switch. Itu yang kita ni lah. Okay, ada. So kalau tak ada, ada di belakang. Ya.
Assalamualaikum.
Itu KJ saya.
Saya sebenarnya ingin bertanya bagi pihak rakan-rakan di UTM.
Okey.
Sebab
dia tak dapat tanya kat UTM.
Sebab sekarang ni kita di UTM ada 2 pathway lah, teaching and research. Jadi sebagai research university, kita ada seperti yang dikatakan oleh Dr. Nazri tadi, kita ada KPI yang perlu kita achieve lah berdasarkan MyRA. Jadi pihak management ni memang akan selalu macam saya tak nak guna perkataan enforce lah. Dia menetapkan bilangan berapa staff yang perlu berada dalam pathway research dan staff yang berada dalam pathway teaching. Jadi sekarang ni kalau kita tengok teaching pathway ni diberi oleh kepada staff yang non-grad fac ataupun yang tiada PhD. Manakala yang research base ni biasanya diberi laluan ni kepada mereka yang mempunyai PhD. Tapi masalah yang kita hadapi sekarang ni, ada di kalangan grad fac yang memohon untuk berada dalam teaching base tetapi tidak dibenarkan oleh pihak management kerana KPI MYRA. Jadi dengan adanya satu lagi track professional practice, mungkin akan timbul lagi sikit bilangan staff yang perlu berada dalam research base. Jadi macam mana dalam kes macam ini cadangan yang Prof boleh bagilah untuk menangani masalah staff yang nak memilih teaching atau professional tapi dipaksa berada dalam research pathway disebabkan KPI yang ditetapkan.
Okey, kalau boleh kita buka slide nombor 42, page 42. So, kalau kita lihat dekat sini, apa critical elements for successful implementation? Tadi saya dah highlight bahawa, so apa yang diterangkan tadi sebenarnya adalah keperluan universiti versus kehendak peribadi, kehendak individu. Okay. Jadi, di sinilah kebijaksanaan institusi untuk menangani perkara ini. Jangan lupa hasrat menjadi pokok bagi Orange Book ini adalah kita mahu membina kecemerlangan seseorang itu supaya dapat membantu kecemerlangan universiti. Dan kita mahu kecemerlangan itu dibina di atas kekuatan seseorang itu di samping keperluan universiti. Jadi di sinilah perlu yang kita kata planning. So di sini kena ada planning untuk universiti. That's why kita kata first step mesti bukan yang ni lah, page 42. Page 42. So dekat sini yang kita kata first HLI should simulate the right mix and proportion of talent. So ini yang mungkin berlaku kalau kata dekat UTM tadi, kita kata untuk achieve MYRA, kita memang kena a certain number of people in the research track. Kalau tidak, kita tak dapat maintain kita punya MYRA status. Tetapi sekarang universiti kena bina lah you punya kekuatan itu supaya kita akan dapat reach the proportion untuk yang berada di research tu atas rela hati. Bukannya paksa rela. Sebab my preamble tadi, I kata is all about apa dalam kita. Ni lepas ni Dr. Rushdan akan cerita banyak lagi tentang cult ni. Kalau you buat sesuatu tu you tak seronok, you rasa you kena paksa, you kena buat semata-mata kerana ianya arahan universiti, dan tak capailah kecemerlangan yang kita aspire untuk setiap staff kita. So di sini di mana universiti kena bijak, SNRU kena bijak strateginya sama ada make these people love research. Okay, so that then they learn to love doing research. Ataupun you recruit lah to get the people yang really strong in research. You increase your postdoc, you increase your recruitment highly oriented towards those strong in research. Tapi seboleh-bolehnya kita nak sesiapa yang ada dalam sesuatu pathway itu, dia memilih pathway itu secara itulah yang dia nak. Itulah yang memang dia comfortable dan ianya membantu organisasi. So that's the best that I can respond to that lah. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Prof. Rosalinda, for the tremendous experience and also knowledge that you have shared just now. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest presenter is Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rushdan bin Muhammad Jalani, Deputy Director of Higher Education Leadership Academy, ACAP, and a member Orange Book Writers team. So before that, allow me to introduce him. Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Rusdan Muhammad Jalani is an expert in leadership of higher learning education, management of higher learning education and Islamic thought and sciences. He received a PhD in Islamic Sufism from University of Exeter. Sufi from University of Exeter. Master in Islamic thought and Bachelor in Fiqh and Philosophy from International Islamic University of Malaysia, IIUM. He has been involved in leadership and management as Deputy Dean, Faculty of Leadership and Management, University Science Islam Malaysia, USIM, and later appointed as Dean of the Faculty. So he is now a Deputy Director of Leadership Training Center in ACAP. So now let's hear from his knowledge and experience on developing and sustaining leadership excellence in TCP.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Terima kasih kepada pengacara. Yang berbahagia Profesor terbaik tak ada Dr. Rosalinda dan Dr. Noraini, Dr. Rozana dan juga Dr. Azmi dan the rest of the audience are senior officers, respected professors and lecturers. Okay, I won't take a long time to stay from you to talk about this leadership track or leadership ideas. Just to give some background why we need to have this leadership, we can say as a track or as a, niche. Okay, no one, when they join university, they have in their mind they want to be a VC. True? Okay, nobody think that they would like to be a VC of the university after 10-20 years. So the notion of leadership started when we work at university. Later on, we perform in our work. Okay, we really excel in the work that we are doing, and somebody suggests that, okay, why not you take the post? Okay, why not you are, try to lead the faculty, the center, the institute, and the rest. But lately, in our experience, okay, we can see not many people are ready to take this amanah or this trust. There are few, but not a majority of us. It leads to the situation where we face people who are not planned to be a leader, they are being appointed. Okay? Can you imagine when people are not ready, people are not planned, so it may put himself in the situation, I just do it sekadar, sekadar apa? Yang mana boleh je lah, bukan dengan sepenuh hati. This is not a good, you can say it's not a good practice, and really after that, the outcome also will clearly give us bad and negative result. And also, sometimes people are appointed by mistake or by surprise. By surprise or by mistake. And then with the notion of, you can say, unconscious leader, unplanned leader. Okay, and lately we also hear that to certain extent, professor said the post shouldn't be given to them, but should be shared among the young lecturers. So the professors and the professors, they do their other job. Okay, so it's maybe sound not fair to the young lecturers. And in reality, to get people voluntarily want to take the post, quite slim in numbers. Okay, so we need somehow some approach, some process, some ideas to allow this to be happen rightly and correctly. In hoping that when we produce leaders, these leaders are ready leaders, planned leaders, conscious leaders, okay, and also leaders who can drive the institution and create a better future for the institution and for the university. Okay, so we must do something from now on. We can't just wait time to decide for us. Okay, that's why we say this need to be created by design, not by accident. Okay, not by mistake or by surprise. So this is the basic idea. And on the other issue, when talking about this track, as some of us mentioned, some of you, even now, okay, you take the post. Diamanahkan memegang jawatan tersebut. Compared to the rest, they are not doing this. Okay, they are doing other job. So, we know that when you take this post and you are still young in this career, if you are not given chance by looking at your strength and your opportunity and chances, if the normal track, is like, we can say, running as usual, these people will be the great victims of what we are having now. So, bila buat kerja jadi ketua je, dia dah tahu dah, memang aku akan lambat jadi profesor media. Aku akan lambat jadi profesor. Ini yang ada dalam mindset kita, setting kita, sama ada secara conscious ataupun tak conscious. Okay, so benda ni akan memberi kesan kepada academics. Okay, so this leadership track somehow try to also accommodate, facilitate those who are given this chance or opportunity or trust, and at the same time they can also create their better career by taking this track. Okay, this chapter actually we start with a very philosophical idea. Can you go to the next slide? What is this? This is the philosophy of COP or heart-guided leadership. Sound very Sufis, okay, Sufism actually, the word, or tasawuf actually. So, why we put this idea? Why we want to share this idea? And this idea has been presented at many places, and many people also happy, and they can see it's not only belong to the Islam, okay, or Muslim, it cut across all religion, okay, all kita kata penganut agama. Basically, the notions of leadership that we are promoting now at ACAP, and we also hope that it can also be shared among our universities, okay, we call it a COP heart, or in easier we can say a balanced leadership. Okay, balanced leadership. Okay, the notions begin with the God conscious. Okay, what is that means? Okay, we trying to let our not only leaders but everyone, once they work at university, they are working at university because this is the demand of not for personal interest and for the individual interest, but because he wants to serve God by or via his work. Okay, while he's working at university, he actually also serving God. Okay, or he's serving at university, also serving God at the same time. So this thing we try to promote, and we believe ibadah. Okay, in other words, we can say ibadah, and manifested from that, people will have. Okay, we hope people will nurture the submissive heart or the tranquil heart. In the sense, okay, when we have purified heart, okay, we have very clear heart, we do our work very sincere and honest, okay, we do not look our own personal problem as a biggest problem of our life. Okay, we do have problem, each of us, okay, we don't deny that, but we know that this is just a journey. Okay, once we are on the right track, we are sincere enough, we are doing excellent work, consequently, okay, we will get reward either now or later, either by the promotions or by other form of promotions. Okay, so, and later on, we also believe that if we have these two ideas, it will later on initiate a very important four cardinal principle of virtues. We call it wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Okay, and you need to come to ACAP to have clear idea or more idea about this. But basically, these four cardinal virtues need to be actually not only need already practiced by us actually, but need to be enhanced and
further internalize or actualize in order for us to be a rightly balanced, just leader or rightly balanced, just academic. Okay? And then later on, the competencies and also trade will be manifested from these 4 cardinal virtues. In other words, okay, to make it more easy to be understood, actually, the idea of corp leadership is begin with insight, having a right attitude, right character, right values, okay, and we work toward achieving what we try to achieve for the organization. So we can consider this is inside out. This is not the outside in. Okay, because if we look from outside in, we may take that promoting reward first, promoting the so-called professors and all this rank first, but then it not come from the right manner, right practice, right values, right ethic and integrity. This is the notions of leaders, and also the actions of the principle of also we can say academic leaders. Okay, next slide. Okay, these are just the example of the trait that we are, like promoting or showcasing. Okay, of course we have this God conscious, integrity, dignity, just and fair. Okay, next. We also have the core competencies incorporated in ACAP training model. Okay, this chapter, basically, it is very good for the succession talent unit or for the training unit for each universities, okay, and also good to give some ideas to the deans or directors for center or institute, okay, on how they can pick up and take and select and choose people, okay, among the rest, among your subordinate, okay, who are the right people to be aligned to this track. Okay, so these are some recommended, guideline. Okay, some recommended, we can say, competencies and also the traits and the behaviors should be possessed by individual lecturers who are later on can be further groomed and nurtured to be a leader. Okay, next. Okay, on the other part, we also emphasize on the idea of academic leadership and institutional leadership. Okay, walaupun tadi kita banyak dengar tentang kepimpinan institusi, okay, but we also really encourage people to be excel in the context of academic leadership. Okay, basically, academic leadership tadi, dia mengambil apa yang telah Prof. Rus sebut tadi. You excel in your teacher learning, you excel in in research, okay, or practitioners, but you also can influence, okay, you become the influential expert in your respective field, and then you engage in impactful academic pursuits, okay, and you display the utmost integrity in pursuing science and scholarship. In this context, not necessarily you are holding the administrative post, but you are leader by your own academic credibility, academic, kita kata kecemerlangan, walaupun kita tak pegang jawatan. And this is actually a leader. Tetapi dalam konteks yang lebih formal, kita kata kepimpinan institusi, itulah yang kita kata tadi, kepimpinan yang melibatkan top and middle management in the universities, okay, and then assume management functions toward to realizing the university's vision and mission, and display capacity in leadership direction, combining strategic and managerial competencies. Okay, yang inilah sebenarnya pejabat pendaftar, pejabat succession training, succession plan ataupun talent kenalah buat perancangan awal. Okay, dia kena kenal pasti. Kita ada bagi dia punya kaedah dia. Kalau pergi pada next slide, lagi. Okay, ini kita boleh andalkan sebagai panduan kepada universiti untuk bagaimana mereka nak membuat proses pemilihan calon-calon untuk nak dimajukan sebagai kepimpinan universiti pada masa depan. Okay, dia kena ada sedikit macam proses. Okay, kalau go to next slide, kita ada lagi proses yang lebih detail lagi, dan ini kita lihat sebagainya telah dibuat oleh universiti. Okay? Dan of course universiti pun ada juga dia punya own creativity dalam melaksanakan perkara ini, tapi kita juga ada sebuah sini bagi memudahkan mungkin di peringkat faculty atau di peringkat center atau institute nak membuat sedikit kita kata perancangan bagaimana nak memilih dan mengambil seseorang ahli akademik menjadi kepimpinan pada masa akan datang. Okay, maknanya kita taklah start dengan macam kita kata kelabu asap. Okay, kita start dengan sesuatu yang boleh kita jadikan panduan. So ini adalah panduan. Sebab kita kata chapter ni dia juga bersifat nak develop. Okay, kita nak kembangkan, nak majukan, nak bangunkan kepimpinan. Dia bukan sekadar untuk track tapi nak bangunkan kepimpinan. Sebab tuan-tuan sekalian, okay, we are having quite a serious issues of kita kata macam mendapatkan calon. Okay, mendapatkan calon. Secara umumnya kita merasakan semua orang yang telah bekerja di universiti macam boleh jadi pemimpin. Tapi rupa-rupanya tidak. Prof, rupa-rupanya tidak. Not many of us, okay, having that materials. Okay, that materials. Because consciously or unconsciously, we are not prepared for that. Okay, kita tak mau at one point later on, katakanlah, we berdoa, okay, ada seorang VC, seorang DVC meninggal mengejut. Okay, sakit mengejut. Apa-apalah berlakulah. Kita terkabur-kabur mencari siapa nak berhenti dia. Even dia peringkat serba, peringkat fakulti, dekan dan sebagainya. Ataupun dia dapat offer yang lagi baru pergi tempat lain. Kita take some time, okay, so long to appoint another succession dia. So kita tak mahu proses itu berlaku terlalu lama. Kita nak biar ada ready leaders yang akan boleh mengisi ruang-ruang yang kosong dengan kadar yang segera, dan bila dia dapat kerja itu, dia akan perform much better and more efficient. Okay. Seterusnya, dalam boleh patah balik tak roles of higher education and ACAP in developing and sustaining leadership excellence. Okay. Di peringkat kita dan universiti sebenarnya, kita kena lihat tidak boleh berlaku proses kita kata pemilihan ataupun penyediaan kepimpinan yang baik kalau ianya tidak berlaku di universiti. Ianya mesti berlaku di universiti, dan banyaknya mesti berlaku di universiti. Okay, dengan universiti kena identifying leaders, grooming leaders, mapping leaders, and later on bila dah ada proses yang awal tadi telah dibuat, barulah pas ke ACAP. Untuk ACAP, insyaAllah cuba nak enhance atau value added apa yang telah mereka perlu di peringkat awal di universiti. Jadi lebih cepat, efisien dan berkesan lagi kalau kita buat begitu. Okay, kalau katalah tak ada langsung, bila kita minta nama pada universiti, dia main bagi nama saja, tetapi dia pun tak sure orang ni betul-betul ke dia nak grow atau tak. Dia bagi nama, datang ke ACAP, lepas tu bila kita cuba-cuba, memang beyond our expectation. Not beyond, below our expectation. Below our expectation. Then buang masa, buang duit, sebab bila kita buat profiling di ACAP, this cost us a huge amount of money. Bila kita buat profiling untuk seseorang profesor untuk whatever post yang dia nak pegang. Okay, so kita naklah mereka itu dipilih daripada universiti dan dipilih dengan cara yang efisien dan tepat. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, actually I think I just come to the end. Okay, last but not least, go to the last two slides. Okay, before that, okay, this one. So, developing and sustaining leadership excellence, we take it in two ways. Okay, first as a track, but not as a normal track macam 3 tadi, but as a track, iaitu track yang special, yang unik, yang sebenarnya dia dibuat secara terancang juga, tapi perancangan tadi bukan perancangan yang macam track yang awal tadi, yang 3 tadi. Dia sedikit unik kerana dengan track yang 3 tadi pun memang dia juga boleh menjadi leader at one point. Tetapi untuk menjadi institusi leader, dia kena juga groom dan nurture dan harness dengan another kita kata strategic planning yang juga jelas. Maknanya kedua-duanya mesti dibuat serentak. Jangan utamakan satu dan lupa yang satu lagi. And then just now I said we promote the ideas of corp leadership. You know, to make you maybe having clear idea on this leadership, on a corp-based leadership, we always emphasize that, okay, leadership is not a title, no position. Okay, leadership is not driven by reward, power and stature. Okay, but it's about creating the needed change. It's about driven by responsibility. It's driven by accountability. It's driven by clarity of purpose. And also you are guided by our corp. Okay, so we are guided by our sincerity, honesty, okay, dan juga by very pure and clean heart. And finally, ini last slide, next. Okay, ini adalah program-program yang ada di ICAP. Terus ini nak buat promosi sikit lah. Maknanya tuan-tuan dan sekalian, so bolehlah tengok website ICAP dan kita dah ada dates dia. Okay, jadi maknanya tuan-tuan dan sekalian, sesiapa yang inginkan makluman ilmu ataupun kita kata exposure tentang isu-isu berkaitan dengan leadership ataupun go beyond that, for example on higher education policies, and also if we can say dalam konteks kita kata kepimpinan institusi, datanglah ke ICAP untuk kita berkongsi, dan universiti juga boleh berfikir untuk kita merancang program-program ini di universiti dengan secara kita buat di universiti pada masa akan datang. Thank you very much, Prof. I think that's it from me. I don't think people have question for.
Is there any question?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have any question?
Ada question tak?
Rusdan.
Semua orang nak jadi ketua? Yes, please. Ada mic.
Mikrofon.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Saya Natrah daripada Universiti Teknologi Malaysia. Saya nak tanya tentang implementation bagi pembahagian track ni. Kepada lecturer baru contohnya, sekiranya kami berminat dengan certain track, for example practice tu, bagaimana kalau kita, sebab KPI kita bergantung kepada track yang kita pilih kan. Tapi kalau baru, kita tak terkenal lagi, kita tidak tahu lagi tentang industri, tak involve dengan industri so much. Bagaimana kita nak penuhi KPI kita?
Okay. I think this is quite related to Dr. Reliana punya question tadi just now. Okay, kita punya model tu dalam kita kata kita ada stage yang kita kata basic competencies. Dan kita tak tetapkan berapa tahun ni untuk mendapat basic competencies tu. Tetapi bila kita kata basic competencies, artinya telah memenuhi ataupun mendapatkan latihan dan segala pengalaman aktiviti yang diperlukan supaya sudah cukup untuk memenuhi basic kompetensi itu. Kalau boleh yang jaga slide, cuba tengok framework kita. Itu tak yang basic kompetensi. Tolong mana? Nombor yang dia ada tunjukkan the different tracks. Ataupun yang tu dah. Nanti saya cuba cari dalam buku ni, ataupun mungkin dia dah keluarkan daripada buku ni. Tapi anyway, dalam 3 tahun semasa tempoh percubaan tu, so macam tadi contohnya untuk praktis kan. So sebenarnya bila kita kata dalam 3 hingga 5 tahun, bila you as a new lecturer tu, you perlu diberi aktiviti dalam setiap satu track. So artinya kena diberi kelas, kena diberi pengalaman untuk menyelia pelajar kalau untuk teaching, kena melibatkan diri dalam projek penyelidikan iaitu untuk track penyelidikan, dan untuk track practice kena mula melibatkan diri dengan aktiviti-aktiviti bersama komuniti dan bersama industri.
Tapi bagaimana pembahagian markah tu diberi kepada kita punya KPI lah. Biasanya macam sekarang kan, research is 50%. For example, 50 to 60%, teaching is 20% kan. So
Itu,
kalau
are you talking about performance assessment
ya,
ataupun
betul,
untuk promotion?
Performance assessment.
So itu yang kita kata tanggungjawab universiti untuk memberikan beban academic workload itu mengikut kedudukan di mana seseorang itu dalam track itu. So contohnya kalau pencarah baharu, dia masih lagi dalam proses untuk mendapatkan basic kompetensi itu. Jadi penetapan KPI bagi tahun itu, iaitu academic workload itu perlu dipastikan untuk ada distribution dalam ketiga-tiga track itu. So artinya there must be a composition of equitable composition of each track before you can actually go into one track for you to specialize in. So penetapan beban tu perlulah diberi supaya ada juga KPI berkaitan dengan projek dengan industri.
Dia depends pada universiti punya penetapan lah sebenarnya kan.
Always kita kata at the end of the day is the university yang implement. So kalau macam universiti, let's say macam UTM nak decide kita tak nak practice, kita nak hanya research sahaja, then it is UTM punya decision lah. Kita beri guide sahaja. Tetapi kita tetap kita mencadangkan supaya basic kompetensi itu perlu diberikan kepada everyone, tak kira apa jenis universiti. So tak kira URU ke, komprehensif ke, MTON ke, kena pastikan tanggungjawab institusi itu memastikan setiap staf yang baru masuk bidang akademia perlu diberi latihan, pendedahan dan juga penetapan bebannya bagi ketiga-tiga track tersebut, ketiga-tiga pathway.
Terima kasih.
Ada sebelah tu, ya.
Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Eliza dari Fakulti Kejuruteraan Awam. Saya juga mungkin mewakili pensyarah-pensyarah barulah. So kita orang baru nak set up career.
Yeah.
Nak identify.
This is for you sebenarnya.
Ya.
Ni bukan untuk orang-orang macam kita orang ni.
Terima kasih Prof. Jadi pendapat saya mungkin at the end of the day kita isi LPPT tu boleh tak macam kita boleh simulate actually kat path mana yang kita paling tinggi markah. Kita boleh try.
Iaitu kita minta institusi untuk buat simulation tu. So institusi kena buat simulation based on you punya pelaporan pencapaian tahunan tu. Daripada situ you nampak sebenarnya pencapaian you berat dekat mana, and therefore kalau you pensyarah baharu you kena top up. You kena, kalau you tahu kenapa saya ni banyak dekat research je, tak ada pun dekat teaching, tak ada pun tentang melibatkan dengan community, pembangunan pelajar, praktis. So sebenarnya pada your first few years ni you kena top up dekat situ. Bukannya you terus-terus terjun research, beria-ria dalam research. At the end of the day, you are brilliant researcher, tapi you tak ada pun, tak ada kau tu. Tak ada sayang kepada pelajar tu, tak ada khidmat kepada masyarakat tu. Sebab apa? Sebab you nak express rakyat, nak jadi brilliant researcher.
Cuma persoalan saya sekarang ni, so for UTM, kita akan mula 2018 kan. Jadi kita early year of 2018 tu kita dah tahu ke?
Tak, kalau macam you are a new lecturer, you belum lagi mendapat basic kompetensi tu. So you tak boleh memilih lagi laluan. So kena pemilihan laluan itu hanya dibenarkan kepada staf yang telah mendapat basic kompetensi. Apakah basic kompetensi itu? Banyak mana? Itu setiap universiti yang tetapkan. Apa yang dia kata cukup untuk memilih sekarang, one of the laluan. Okay. So new lecturers tak payah pilih lagi. Build up your strength.
Maybe Prof boleh letak some figures kot. After 5 years, then you can choose.
Kita tak nak bagi figures.
Yeah, that is the words lah. We don't want to give the figures.
Kita tak nak bagi figures. Dan kita pun harap universiti janganlah terlalu
rigid.
Jangan rigid. Mesti ada ihsan, mesti ada flexibility.
Okay, next question.
Assalamualaikum Prof. Saya Osman daripada UTHM. Berdasarkan kepada talk this morning, so kita melihat pada 4 track. By the way, masa discussion just now, we talk about 5th track.
Yes,
We are talking about the hybrid. So saya rasa kalau kita tengok pada pensyarah lama, kebanyakan dia ada yang kelima itu.
Yeah.
So based on our discussion just now, saya tak nampak pun hybrid punya pembahagian for that one. So boleh tak saya tahu universiti mana dah buat on that 5th track, and also apa perancangan KPT untuk UA pada masa akan datang berhubung dengan 5th track. Terima kasih.
Okey. Saya akan lepas ni serahkan kepada UTM sebab UTM memang ada mengenal pasti 5th track ni, tetapi semasa perbincangan kita di peringkat pusat, di peringkat KPT tentang hybrid ini, kita memang kata konsep hybrid itu kita benarkan for a few years sehingga sampai pada satu ketika yang universiti boleh laksanakan DCP ni, Differentiated Career Pathway ni. Kenapa kita tak kata forever boleh ada hybrid track? Kita punya filosofi, kita kata hybrid is transition, bukan hybrid ialah a track. Kerana kita kata kita mahu lahirkan akademia, ingat tak yang saya kata tadi, kita tak nak jack of all trades, master of none. Bila kita kata profesor, artinya profes cemerlang dalam bidangnya, tetapi dalam mengembangkan ilmunya, mengembangkan disiplinnya, ia mengembangkan ilmu itu dalam sama ada melalui penyelidikan atau melalui pendidikan atau melalui amalannya, praktisnya. So that's why kita kata kita nak capai tahap excellence. Dia bukannya kata setakat okey. Dia mesti brilliant dalam sama ada teaching, research ataupun practice. Itu konsepnya. So that's why hybrid hanya interim, bukannya as a track. So mungkin UTM nak share macam mana laksanakan the hybrid tu.
Okay, terima kasih. Macam kena jawab 2 soalan tadi. Soalan tu soalan dalam bilik tidur tu. Kena jawab dekat UTM. Okey, soalan hybrid ni apa yang kita laksanakan? Kita plan for 2017, tapi tengok keadaan lah kan macam mana kita boleh buat. Tapi kita akan laksanakan hybrid ni, maknanya orang yang dalam sistem sekarang dia dah tinggal sikit lagi nak mendapat kenaikan pangkat tersebut. Kita tak boleh pindahkan orang macam ni. Dia dah dalam sistem sekarang. Sistem yang kenaikan pangkat sekarang, kemudian dia berusaha ke arah itu, mungkin dia ada some research, dia ada teaching, dia ada perkhidmatan kepada masyarakat dan sebagainya. So yang ini kita tak boleh tinggalkan, kita tak boleh paksa orang ni masuk dalam mana-mana track. Dan selalunya dan bagi UTM kita try to acknowledge yang orang-orang yang hampir ni selalunya orang-orang yang senior lah. Bukannya orang yang junior, dia masih lagi tadi macam apa Prof Rose kata, dia kena go through the baseline competencies for minimum 3 years in UTM. Kalau tu dia kena collect all those, after that dia kena pilih track. So apa yang kita buat dekat UTM for next year, kita ada certain proportion. Saya tak ingat berapa proportion dia, terlalu banyak data yang kena ingat. Kemudian tahun 19 kita akan kurangkan, tahun 20 kita 21 kosong. Mana there's no more hybrid. Hybrid itu last dia 20. Dia macam Prof Rose kata, kita tidak tu melanggar falsafah DCP. Jadi kita mengiktiraf orang yang hampir untuk dinaikkan pangkat dalam sistem yang sedia ada ini, dan dia boleh memilih hybrid. Tapi orang yang dah ready, yang macam dah bagus konsensi dia memang dah bagus sangat konsensi work kan. Yang ini ataupun dia bagus dari segi research, dia kan track, dia pilih terus track tersebut. Itu tak ada. So kita ada proportion buat masa for the first 3-4 years ini, proportion kita 5. Jadi ada berapa percentage hybrid, berapa percentage research, teaching, dan kemudian professional services. Itu yang kita buatlah. Tak tahu sama ada itu yang terbaik, tapi setelah kita fikirkan itu buat beberapa town hall dengan staff, kita rasa itulah yang kita opt for the moment.
Okey, satu perkara lagi bagi mereka yang telah memegang jawatan, katakanlah dia dah pegang 2 tahun, 3 tahun, lepas tu dia tamat. Kan kita pegang tempoh mungkin 3-4 years, and then dia dah habis. Dia balik menjadi lecturer biasa. Okey. So di sini Prof, kadang-kadang ada orang tu dia pegang 5 tahun, lepas tu jadi orang biasa, rakyat marhin, lepas tu pegang balik, lepas tu jadi rakyat biasa balik. So dia akan berlaku macam tu juga. Kadang di mana dalam tempoh 20-30 years, dia akan macam pegang tak pegang. So ini pun kena juga diberi satu kemudahan kepada mereka. Maknanya proses transisi antara pegang tak pegang itu perlu diambil kira juga. Kan? Jadi kita tak fair untuk judge mereka ketika mereka pegang, ketika mereka tak pegang, terpegang-pegang tu, nak dijudgekan dengan track yang research. Sedangkan dia pegang 3 atau 5 tahun, memang track leaders, pegang penjawatan banyak, tiba-tiba nak fikir ataupun nak judge dia secara by research. Itu juga kena dilihatlah supaya mereka ni dibantu secara adil.
Assalamualaikum Prof. Saya Doria daripada UTHM. Saya nak tanya sebab kita saya percaya setiap universiti dia dah ada set training dia sendiri untuk competency training. So kita ada provide contohnya level 1, level 2. Saya difahamkan kita ada ASEP yang di peringkat zone. So macam mana kita nak kumpulkan sesiapa yang dah attend level 1 dan level 2 untuk mendapatkan master's trainer contohnya. Dan juga satu lagi sebab saya rasa itu mungkin berkaitan dengan perancangan AKAP untuk dapatkan untuk kita supaya mereka dapat recognition tu. Okay, kita bantu pensyarah-pensyarah kita untuk dapat recognition. Dan satu lagi macam tadi yang loophole tu tadi yang berkenaan dengan contohnya 5 years dan 3 years balik kepada rakyat marhin contohnya. Macam mana kita nak bantu mereka supaya mereka juga boleh attend kursus-kursus yang level 4 dan level 3. Sebab saya rasa kalau kita peramkan mereka di satu tempat saja dan dia tidak menonjol, mungkin universiti itu agak rugi. So apa perancangan untuk itu?
Okey, sebenarnya soalan ini soalan yang sangat khusus kepada apa yang AKAP sedang buat sekarang. Mungkin tak ramai juga yang tahu. Mungkin I think few of you tahulah yang ada sini. Iaitu kita menjadikan satu training kepada dalam konteks teacher learning Prof, teacher learning, dan kita ada dia punya level dia 1, 2, 3, kemudian selected from level 3, not all of them but selected of them yang memang recommended by the speakers ataupun the facilitators. Then these people are insyaAllah akan kita panjangkan ke proses master trainer, ya. Jadi iaitu yang very special group untuk kita punya aim biar later on diorang ni lah yang akan menjadi trainers kepada ilmu yang kita dapat kepada orang lain. Okey, sebab kita tahu kalau boleh biar benda ni disebarluaskan secara merata atau melata. Okey, so recognition itu memang dalam proses, even the first batch pun, I rasa few of you here yang masuk first batch pun tak habis lagi. Artinya adalah dua sesi kan, ada 2 lagi. Betul tak? 2 ke 1? Satu lagi je. Satu lagi. Okey. Cuma kita terpaksa tangguhkan kerana masalah di peringkat pengurusan kewangan dan juga untuk kita nak mendapat nilai. So kata insyaAllah bulan Julai. So kalau first batch ni keluar, kita akan ada berapa orang dalam grup tu? 25 orang. These 25 akan mendapat title macam recognition by trainers, then they can train the rest. Okay, so memang target kita akan berterusan by zone, iaitu setiap zone kena buat daripada sekarang dia punya 2 or 3 program yang kita dah bagi, and selected from selected from the program, dapatlah pilih mereka yang kita nak recommend. Next year kita akan run another program. Yang tahun ni punya lah, bukan next year, no, this year juga Prof, sorry Datuk. This year juga sebenarnya, bulan 9 kita plan for the new group. So maknanya memang benda itu akan dia berterusan dan kita hasratkan supaya universiti memang recognize these people sebagai expert dalam khususnya teaching and learning.
So itu yang ACAD buat dan kita minta universiti boleh recognize lah. I think this answer your questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum, saya Fahmi daripada UTHM. Saya nak tanya pada Prof. Ros tadi ada cakap tentang apa itu profesor, seorang yang profes dalam sesuatu perkara lah. Jadi saya nak berbincang tentang falsafah profesor ni sendiri. Saya bagi satu situasi yang di mana seorang pensyarah dia fokus pada teaching dan dia mau profes dalam teaching. Jadi bila dia profesor, dia panggil professor in education or something, in engineering education for example. Dia seorang pensyarah di UTM for example, dia engineer background. Jadi di dalam usaha dia untuk jadi profes, bukankah logical kalau R&D dia adalah dalam education juga? Sebab dia nak profes dalam education dan praktis dia pun dalam education juga. Itu situasi yang pertama. Situasi kedua, jika kita bawa orang daripada industri ke dalam universiti, dia ni seorang yang mahir di industrinya. Bila kita bawa ke universiti, kita anugerahkan dia profesor terus. Saya bagi situasi industri pendidikan. Contohnya dia seorang guru. Dia mengajar telah beberapa tahun di sekolah menengah. Kemudian dia masuk ke dalam UPSI menjadi dan kita berdasarkan pengalaman dia itu, kita anugerahkan dia profesor sebab dia telah beramal, dia practitioner. Jadi adakah itu situasi yang munasabah? Jadi ada dua situasi tadi itu. Itu soalan saya.
Okay, so this is the correct slide to answer that question. Okay, when we talk about professor, so you profess in your discipline. So definitely you have to be brilliant in whatever discipline that you are. Okay, whatever discipline it may be. Tetapi dalam you profess in your discipline, apakah method ataupun approach untuk you profess your discipline? So bila seseorang yang dalam teaching, dia punya professing, dia punya disiplin tu kita letakkan dalam kriteria ini 50 hingga 65% adalah aktiviti-aktiviti yang berkaitan dengan teaching, supervision dan yang berkaitan. Tetapi kita tetap juga letakkan 20 hingga 30% mesti research. So mesti ada research juga. Cuma penetapan peratus weightage itu lebih kepada komponen teachingnya. Kerana dia punya cara dia profess itu adalah melalui dia punya educating. Balik kepada soalan yang bagi aliran praktis pula, sama juga bila kita kata someone yang practicing dia punya bidang itu, so a practitioner engineering ke, even pendidikan ataupun even business, kriterianya kita letakkan adalah apa-apa yang dia praktiskan itu adalah 30 hingga 50%. Tetapi dia mesti telah terlibat dalam teaching, supervision and related activities. Walaupun dia belum lagi jadi academic staff, tetapi dalam dia mempraktis tu dia telah membuat kursus, telah mendidik, telah menyebar ilmu, telah menjadi mentor. Jadi itu semua akan dikira dalam 30 hingga 50% teaching, supervision and related activities bagi pathway practice itu. So that's why kita letak sama percentage-nya antara komponen praktis dia dengan komponen teaching, supervision and related activities itu, iaitu antara 30 hingga 50%. Tetapi kita tak expect dia untuk buat research. That's why kita letak hanya 5 hingga 10.
Minta maaf Prof, boleh saya tanya soalan susulan?
Ya.
Berbalik pada yang teaching tadi contohnya, saya nak tahu jika dia nak profess dalam engineering education for example,
okay,
adakah dia diharapkan untuk melakukan research di dalam, for example dia ni bidang robotics lah for example dekat UTM. Jadi dia nak profess in engineering education.
Ya.
Itu sebabnya dia pilih track teaching.
Ya.
Jadi yang komponen 20 hingga 30% itu, adakah dia diharapkan untuk apply grant in engineering education ataupun in robotics?
In bidang dia.
Robotics.
Ya, bidang kepakaran dia. So bidang kepakaran dia, whatever disiplin yang dia mesti ada buat R&D dalam tu, dan juga mungkin ada juga R&D dalam research, dalam engineering education. So kedua-duanya tu dikira untuk komponen research, as long as it is a research. So dia masuk dalam research punya kategori lah. So it can be in the bidang as well as in the practicing of the bidang of the, that means the research aspects of the engineering education.
Tapi bukankah itu akan menyebabkan dia jadi jack of all trade juga, sebab dia akan buat dua benda sekarang ni. Satu, dia nak fokus pada robot research, satu lagi dia nak fokus pada engineering education research. Dua dia ni aliran yang very berbeza. Jadi dia akan jadi jack of two trades dah sekarang ni.
Tidak. Setiap orang daripada kita mempunyai kelayakan. Kita mempunyai disiplin. Macam saya contohnya, computer science, itu disiplin saya. Sufism, itu disiplin bagi Dr. Rusdan. So kita masing-masing ada bidang kita yang kita memang kena jadi expert dalam bidang kita itu. So tahap expertise itu melalui aktiviti kita merangkumi semua, daripada teaching kepada research, kepada kita punya services, kepada kita punya management and leadership activities. Kita kena ada basic competencies dalam itu. Tetapi bila kita nak menyebar, kita nak professing itu, so kita boleh profess itu dengan cara macam mana kita menyebar ilmu tentang, let's say, Sufism, ataupun bagi saya tentang computing. Macam mana saya nak be a professor in my discipline, mungkin dari segi aspek macam mana saya mengajar, macam mana saya go research into how to educate computing, how to do research in computer. So dia akan related kepada bidang itu. So kita tidak boleh lari daripada bidang itu. Saya nak tarik balik soalan Miss Dr. Nick tapi dia dah lari.
Dr. Nick, tapi dah tak ada.
Dah lari. Saya sedikit khawatir Dr. Nick punya soalan tadi. Sebab tak naklah mengata sebab dia dah pergi.
Apa nanti saya sampaikan.
Ampun, nanti cakap saya minta maaf lah dekat dia. Tapi you nak mendidik pelajar, memanglah kita nak membangunkan pelajar, student development, nak menjadikan dia pemimpin apa semua. Tapi adakah sampai to the point you lupa you tu kepakaran you apa? Ni yang kita ada, mungkin ada orang yang jadi fellow pelajar sampai dia retire, dia jadi fellow pelajar, dia lupa yang dia sebenarnya bidang computing ke bidang engineering ke apa. So always we are tied to what, because we are in academia. Kita dalam bidang akademik. So kita tak boleh lari daripada kita punya pengetahuan dalam bidang kita itu. So tak boleh gunakan alasan kita nak jadi teacher, educator, therefore kita tinggalkan bidang kita go into macam mana nak mengajar. Lepas ataupun kita asyik nak practice sahaja. So dia mesti always that basic competency in what we are as a discipline, itu mesti ada. Dia punya asas lah. I hope that satisfies your...
Kejap, saya nak sikit pasal pada tadi you ada bagi contoh logika seorang guru yang mengajar, kemudian dia masuk ke universiti, dia dapat dia profesor. Kalau kita tengok pada dia punya experience practitioners tu, dia bukan semudah tu. Bukan semudah orang yang dia praktis kat luar, tiba-tiba dia masuk, kita tu bagi dia profesor. Not like that. It must be with a very strict criteria. Dan excellent itu memang luar biasa. I think dah jelas kat sini. Bukan semua orang boleh dapat seperti keluar, masuk dalam, dapat that title. Number one. Number two, the same goes kepada orang dalam yang kalau di banyak universiti yang lain, dia ada medical school ataupun dentist school. Mereka kata mereka pun buat kerja luar. Ada bagi apa? Macam dia buat konsultan luar. Ada kalanya bukan level yang recognized secara national ataupun international. Sekadar kerja-kerja biasa harian yang seorang doktor, dia buat klinik kat luar. Dan dia tak boleh claim dengan itu saja dia nak pilih track practitioners. Because it must have another criteria yang lebih ketat dan lebih established untuk dia nak recognize sebagai practitioners track. I think this must be clear. Yeah.
Okay, saya nak tambah sikit. Prof, Minta maaf yang pasal yang Dr. Nick tanya tadi itu, saya rasa situasi itu berlaku sebab workload tu tak balance. Maksudnya adalah contohnya saya sebagai penyelaras kelab pelajar, di bawah saya ada 10 penasihat untuk biro masing-masing. Tapi bila buat program, penasihat hilang. At the end, saya buat semua. Itu masalah dia. That's why saya tak lupa saya seorang pensyarah, saya bidang saya research saya semua saya ingat, but I don't have the time sebab saya kena entertain 10 tadi itu. Itu masalah dia.
Okay. Saya selalu respon beginilah dari segi that's why kita kata DCP ni adalah untuk pembangunan kerjaya, okay, which is a pathway, kita kata sepanjang pembangunan kerjaya. So dalam pembangunan kerjaya kita ini, kita kena merancang kerjaya kita. So dalam merancang kerjaya itu akan ada setiap tahun akan adalah aktiviti dan bebannya. So apa yang berlaku adalah memang akan ada ketika bila you dilantik, kita dilantik sebagai penasihat kelab ataupun aktiviti yang melibatkan banyak masa dengan pelajar, ia membina certain competencies in us dalam mengendalikan pelajar, manage pelajar and so forth lah, pembangunan pelajar. Tetapi janganlah sehingga itulah menjadi kerjaya kita. So itu concernnya. So kita mesti rancang kerjaya kita supaya kita nampak. So ini guide dia. Inilah guide-nya supaya kita kata kerjaya itu perlu dirancang mengikut laluan ini, iaitu laluan research, teaching ataupun amalan, practice. Bagi setiap aktiviti, macam kita kata yang kalau macam pembangunan pelajar could be kira servis juga kalau you tak letak dia sebagai teaching, sebab kalau letak dia teaching dia kena banyak dari segi educating punya aspects. So that's why kena dirancang secara individu dengan ketua jabatan dan oleh institusi. So kalau institusi itu asyik lantik seseorang tu fellow daripada mula dia jadi lecturer sampai sudah bertahun-tahun, berbelas tahun kerja dia asyik jadi fellow saja, dan sedangkan kita tahu untuk jadi fellow tu akan mengambil masa yang sangat banyak daripada seseorang tu. Begitu juga nak bagi contoh, bila kita lantik seseorang itu sebagai pentadbir akademik, daripada mula dilantik, lepas tu tak sudah tak berhenti-henti dia punya post tu. Saya cakap sendirilah sebab saya tak sempat nak balik daripada UK PhD saya, jawatan dah menunggu tahun 96 tu. Lepas tu tak berhenti-henti. Non-stop. Sekarang ni baru saya dapat bernafas sikit. Barulah berhenti sekarang ni. So itu yang kita kata, imagine how you struggle being given responsibility sebelum you sempat membina kompetensi itu. So it takes a lot of time and effort. So at the ketua jabatan level, dekan level, institution level, kena lihat ni. So tu yang kita ada diagram tadi yang kita kata kena sama-sama have the support, the supporting infrastructure untuk lihat perkara ini berlaku. So there should be some kind of management of that. Banyak yang kita kata yang melibatkan pembangunan pelajar memang selalu macam tu, and another group is yang diberi jawatan-jawatan pentadbiran ni. Definitely dua kategori ni memang you tak akan ada masa untuk buat research dengan untuk even to do teaching and practice.
Right, I think that is it. That's it for.
I think
yeah.
12:30.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rushdan, for the knowledge and shared just now. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to end our event for today. I would like to invite Yang Berbahagia Profesor Dr. Ahmad Tarmizi Abdul Karim, Assistant Vice Chancellor, Development Management Facility and ICT, to present our memento of appreciation. So, please welcome Yang Berbahagia Profesor Dr. Ros Alinda alias the first guest speaker to receive our memento of appreciation. And also please welcome the second guest speaker, Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Rushdan Muhammad Jalini, to receive our memento of appreciation. Thank you so much to Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Ahmad Tarmizi. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to an end of the program today. On behalf of all the community members, I would like to express my utmost gratitude to all the distinguished guests and members of the floor for making this event a success. Let us all be guided by all the things that we have learned and heard throughout the presentation today and be able to see and influence our future. So thank you very much, and please forgive us for our shortcoming. Till we meet again, perhaps in the next future meeting, and may all of you have a good day ahead. With that, I ended with wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We would like to invite all the VIPs and committee members to proceed for the refreshment served at the banquet room. Thank you.